Okay, here we are back. We're ready to start working on our nose. Now, you will have your place marked where you're planning on putting your nose. Once again, even though I've put a lot of detail into the eyes, I always start by laying out all of my features and not going into all this detail until I've already done the placement on everything. Because if I needed to move these eyes, that would be really tough with all that detail I've put in. So try to work through um, just getting the features in place before you start darkening and adding lots of detail, because if you have to move it, you lose all that detail, plus it gets a lot harder to erase the more detail that you put in. Okay, so here is our nose, and we are going to create a ball of the nose that's about the size of the pupil ish, somewhere around there. And I'm doing this very light because this will get erased. If we don't erase this, um, your person's going to look like a clown because we don't normally have that shape there. Now, your nose is about the width of your eye. Now, some people have a nose that's a little bit smaller than the width of their eye. Some people have a nose that's a little bit wider than the width of their eye. It's really hard to say, but you always want to measure the eye and then measure the nose on the person that you're drawing, because that will give you the guideline that you're working from. So I'm pulling back out this paper where I had marked the width of my eye, and then I'm going to move down here, and I'm going to mark this width. We're just going to assume that this average kind of person that I'm drawing has a nose width that is about the width of their eye. And it's never failed that when I've shown kids this, I've had kids go, that their nose is way too big. Well, no, that's actually what it is. If we, let's pull in Chris Hemsworth here and let's just see. Let's measure his eye. So from the tear duct to the crease over here. So there's his eye size. Let's go to his nose. And look, his nose is actually quite a bit bigger. That eye size is really just showing his inner nostril space. Let's try it on Zendaya. So let's measure the eye. So here to here. We go down to her nose, and her nose isn't as much wider than her eye as what it was on Chris Hemsworth, but it is just a little bit. Who's someone else we can look at? I don't know who this person is. It's a quite handsome person, but we'll measure the eye here. And let's go to the nose. And the nose is quite a bit bigger. So when you measure the eye and you go, that's too big for a nose, just understand, no, it's probably a good chance it's not big enough. So what we're going to do, so let's look at the structures of the nose before we start trying to draw it. We have the septum, and we have the nostril, and then we have the wing of the nostril. That's hard to see. That outer edge is harder to see on that person. Let's go back with the rock, because his is real clear. So we have the septum, and that's actually a mark, I think, that I put there another time. It may be a shadow, but we've got the septum, we've got the nostril, we've got the wing, the skin depth, the wing of the nostril. A lot of people will have it where it tucks, there's like a fold of skin where that nostril is tucking around next to the face. We also have a shadow here and here coming around the ball of the nose. So based on that, this little ball might need to be a little bit bigger. So let's do that. Let's make that a little bit bigger. So we're going to work on that. This line here, I've made it small, and that's going to kind of relate to our septum. And I want to, usually the bottom of the septum is rounded a little bit. So I'm kind of rounding that like that circle is. Then we're going to lasso to our dots here. And by lasso, I mean creating a shape. So here's what that little rounded part we made. And we're just going to, you could see it as like if you're making an E, except I'm coming it from the center. So if it was an E, it would come on around like that. But we're just doing just stretched out. I think of it as a lasso, and like I'm lassoing that space. Now, if you look on the rock, it actually comes out a little bit straight there and then curves. On this person, it's kind of angled and then curves. This one comes more straight before it curves. This person, the septum is actually wider and then just has a little tiny lasso there for that. And part of that has to do with the tilt of the head. So maybe I need to angle this a little bit flatter. Maybe I need to come up a little bit before I go over. Just got to study the nose and see how you want it to be shaped. So I like that shape right there. There we go. So now let's see, I need to work this side the same. Would have been easier if I'd done the left side first. But since I have a problem with following my own my own suggestions with that, I think I've got that septum really wide. Let's narrow that in a little bit. There we go. I've got the nostrils a little bit on the big side, or at least for what I was anticipating. But like I said, it all depends on the angle your person is at. Their nostrils are very tiny. His, you see a lot more. So I know it looks really strange right now, but that's okay. We'll fix it. Now let's come back and get the bottom of our septum back in there. And now we need to work on the skin around the nose. And let's look at, now with the rock, you could almost use a square bracket for the shape of that wing. A lot of people have more of a rounded, gently rounded, rounded. So you just look at your model. Use your model as your guide. I'm going to make that a little bit thicker. Come out. I need to go kind of flat underneath or not quite as deep underneath. Now, for the top part, it's still looking kind of weird. We need to look at where that ball was, and there'll be a little bit of a shadow there where it and the wing are kind of meeting. We may have to lighten that up just a little bit, and there'll be a shadow underneath. Now I'm going to bring that wing on around. I know it's still looking quite weird. Let's see. Let me find a nose to look at. Whose nose? I'm going to look at this one. I'm going to see if I can adjust mine a little bit. I'm going to make this a little bit wider here. Oh, but we don't see as much nostril, so I can't really use hers. I need one that we see more nostril. Let's go with that nose. Let's see if I can get it. So that would mean I'd need to bring the top of this down a little bit. Oh, sorry, I'm out of frame. Didn't mean to get out of frame. So I'm just flattening my lasso a little bit. There we go. That's looking better. I like that. And on a feminine nose, you're not going to see a whole lot of the bridge. You will have a little bit of shading. So if our light is coming from over here, Then you would have shadow on this side of the nose. That would be deeper, and you probably wouldn't see much shadow on this side. On guys, because they have a more prominent nose, you're going to see shadow on both sides. And if you do have a bit of a line there where you've got the shadow, it's going to come up and angle into the eyebrows. Can you see that? Okay. And that will all blend in. You'll have some shadow here. And see, it's looking more like a nose. Now, what will really help it is if we don't have this out in the light. So we need to create that shadow. And if you notice, right here at this edge, it's really dark. And then as it comes out more to the light, it gets lighter. So we're going to do that. We're going to make this really dark. And then as it comes to the light, we're going to lighten our pencil and have it where it's getting lighter. So let's do this on this other side. Really dark, and then start lightening that. Now, this will also have some shadow on it. Be very careful, or else you'll make them look like they've got a mustache. But that's looking a little more nose-like. And be careful about going too dark. Don't color in your nostrils, the inside of your nostrils, until you know you have your nose where you want it to be. Because as dark as you color that in, and it's most likely to scar the paper, and that'd be very hard to erase and then shade over. Okay, so that's got us with the nose. We will join back in the next video with the lips.